Lazav the Multifarious versus Breya, Etherium Shaper. I think this will be the third time we've been up against Breya on the channel. We can go for a Sunken Hollow on turn 1. Yeah, we'll keep this. We have mana ramp and a means of card draw with the Dark Confident, so I think we'll go for Dark Confident on turn 2. And then maybe a Grim Monolith after that. We could hold up Hero's Downfall for Breya, but I don't think that will help us any. And I'm very tempted to Wasteland this thing. Yeah, really, the types of plays that I don't like to make, but in my experience, I don't recall ever playing against this opponent. Maybe I have, I don't remember. But in my experience, Breya tends to be really spiky, and therefore might be worth going for a Wasteland, especially if they're going to get Breya off next turn. See what we reveal with the Dark Confident here. Hopefully a land. Yeah, we get into a couple of lands actually. So why don't, therefore, we go for some ramp. And then, yeah, really don't like doing it, but I think we're going to have to go for a Wasteland because we want to hold our opponent off Breya for as long as possible. And they are struggling on black as well, so we'll hold off on the Urborg for as long as we can. And hopefully get into some kind of self-mill, because at the moment we don't have anything to do whatsoever. Yeah, we can Hero's Downfall their commander if they manage to get it out. Okay, going for another Signet. We get into more card draw. We take 6 from Triskelion, which is something that we'd love to get into the graveyard. We'll see if we can get into something with Lazav. Lazav does, of course, Surveil. When it comes into play, we can put that in the graveyard. We don't want to draw into more lands. And we'll just... yeah, we'll go for Underground Sea. Swinging with Dark Confident, and we're not getting a whole heap of anything going on here, but hopefully our opponent's worried about what is in hand. Hopefully they'll actually play around that. Triskelion is part of a combo with, what is it called? Necrotic Ooze and the Phyrexian Devourer. And what basically happens is we have Lazav become a copy of Necrotic Ooze, or we play the Necrotic Ooze itself if we draw into it, and we can exile cards from the top of our library to put +1/+1 counters on the Ooze, and then we can remove the +1/+1 counters with the Triskelion ability and just deal infinite damage to our opponent basically, or damage to our opponent for as long as we have cards in our library, which hopefully we haven't self-milled too much by then. Our opponent brainstorming for a land, no doubt. And they managed to get into one, still struggling on black. If we can blow up this Signet, well, not blow it up, but yeah, I'm not actually sure what we could do about that. Well, they can take control of Grim Monolith with Dak Faden, so that gets them into even more mana. Yeah, that's a shame that that occurred there. Okay, Chrome Mox is... we have to exile something from hand, so that is next to useless to us. We could have gone for a hard cast on Triskelion there, but of course our opponent has gotten into our mana with the Dak Faden. Not a whole lot we can do about drawing into a load of lands. We have been drawing 2 cards a turn, but if we're just going to keep drawing into lands and ramp, then yeah, not a whole lot we can do about it. We're just going to have to hold up Hero's Downfall, destroy a target creature or planeswalker for 3 mana. And our opponent's commander is Breya, 4 colours for a 4/4. It enters with 2 Thopters, and then you can pay 2 and sack 2 artifacts in order to either Lightning Bolt a player or planeswalker, -4, -4 a creature, or gain 5 life. It's usually the top 2 abilities that you want to worry about with Breya. And they are wastelanding one of our things, which is fine. We have a hell of a lot of cards in hand, or a hell of a lot of lands in hand, that is. And we're going to draw more lands here, probably. Wow, that is... yeah, that's something. I think we only have 35 lands in the deck. Oh, what to do? Well, I'll get down the Ancient Tomb, just in case we want to do something for 6 mana next turn. And this is a pretty poor showing from both players here. Just going to have to slug it out. As soon as our opponent gets into black mana, I'm sure that they are going to... they're going to run rampant on us. They might have instant speed card draw here. Fact or fiction, something like that. Nope, Dig Through Time is arguably even better. They don't reveal the cards with Dig Through Time. But yeah, really good card if you don't play it. It is, look at the top 7 cards of your library. 2 of them go into your hand and the rest go on the bottom, but it has Delve. So in a Spellslinger deck you can often do this for just 2 blue mana at instant speed. And we will discard our... we'll discard Triskelion. Okay, our opponent decides to go for Inquisition of Kozilek, which will probably get rid of our Hero's Downfall. There's no point in casting it because we would just have to blow up one of our own creatures. So looks like they've got Hero's Downfall on there, and they are going to see that they can actually just play out whatever they want because we have a whole heap of nothing in our hand. Keep drawing into land somehow. And the only thing that's helping us out is the Dark Confidant, which hopefully doesn't get exiled by our opponent. They may just be holding up counter magic here, but it looks like they don't have much going on in their hand either, and they are just waiting for that black mana. Wow, Damnation and more lands. I can't see myself uploading this game, to be honest. It's not looking too enthralling so far. This is probably the worst Lazav game I've ever played. Not a whole lot we can do about just drawing into lands over and over again. We do have a Damnation, which is somewhat of a replacement for the Hero's Downfall being lost. Played out the Tech Edge there as well, because if our opponent gets into another land, we can try and slow them down a little bit. They do get into their black mana, and if we blow up the scrub land, the Reflecting Pool won't be able to tap for black mana. So if they pass priority over to us here, that is what we're going to do in response. It looks like we're just going to see Breya here. Okay, that is not what they're going for, so in that case we're going to blow up their Source of Black. It's the only thing keeping us in the game. Like I said before, it does make me feel uneasy blowing up people's lands, but it's our only means of staying in the game currently. As our opponent gets stuff off, yep, they're getting into even more mana. So they're at the point now where whatever they draw into, they can play, as long as it's not black, that is. And we're just really hoping for something good here. Force of Will is... yeah, Force of Will with more lands. I can't see myself wanting to go down to 32 lands in this deck, or 30... I think we're just being unlucky here. This never happens in this deck. 35 is a sweet spot for this deck. We will swing in at Duretti. And we can turn... yeah, there's actually no point turning Lazav into the Triskelion because it won't have the +1/+1 counters on it. And our opponent choosing to keep the construct in play. We do at least have a Force of Will that we can hard cast. Get rid of an island. Yeah, so our plan now is to hard cast Force of Will if they manage to play Breya or something else that worries us. But apart from that, you may sacrifice an artifact if you do destroy. Well, that's alright, we can turn Lazav into Dark Confident. They opt to sacrifice their servo, of course. And yep, they've got their black mana well and truly sorted out now. That is all of a sudden 3 sources of black mana. And we'll see if they have a counter of their own, assuming that Breya's coming down here. And we'll go 1, 2, 4, 5. And see if our opponent has a counter. We have 2 cards left in hand. Looks like they do. Yep, they go for counterspell on the Force of Will. And I think Dark Confident triggers on the beginning of the upkeep, so it would actually be pointless to turn Lazav into a Dark Confident at the beginning of our upkeep because it wouldn't trigger the Dark Confident. And another land. Yep, this is something. I think we have to go for... Yeah, I'm going to wait and see if our opponent does anything next turn. I'm assuming that they're going to sacrifice some artifacts and deal with our Lazav. But I want them to sacrifice something other than the Thopters, preferably. I don't think that they will do that. Going to deal 6 damage to us here. We are going to let that through. One of the benefits about Dark Confident getting us into lots of lands is that we haven't taken a lot of damage off it. Okay, yeah, and they are going after Lazav here. There's nothing we can do about that, so hopefully our opponent plays out some more creatures here. They sacrificed a Thopter to do that. 1 card left in hand. Problem is, if we wipe the board... Ooh, Myriad Phantasm is a means of getting us some mill action on the go. I think in that case, that would be 7 to activate. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. In that case, why don't we see if we can actually get anything going with Myriad Phantasm. And if they decide to give this thing -4/-4, then we can sacrifice it in response and actually get some stuff into our graveyard. It's probably too little too late, but our opponent is on 13, so we might be able to get something going yet. Okay, they sacrificed their own Breya, so in that case, there's no reason for us to allow that to happen. We might as well just shuffle Myriad Phantasm into our graveyard. And we suddenly have 48 cards. For those of you who don't know, Myriad Phantasm, for 2 mana, we shuffle it into our library and then reveal cards from the top and mill those cards until we hit the Myriad Phantasm, and then we put the Myriad Phantasm back into play when we do that. Very seldom use it. In fact, I don't think I've ever used it in this way. It's actually in here as part of a combo to mill out our entire library, but we do get into some good stuff like Siren Storm Tamer would be good to get into to protect our graveyard. We have Invisible Stalker. We have Jace. Gravecrawler is part of a combo, as is Dread Return. And Bloodghast is also Jace's Archivist, Bloodseer, Viscera Seer, not Bloodseer. Doretti throws out another token. What else do we have? Snapcaster won't do anything. Deep Analysis, part of a combo. Fate Stitcher. Intuition Yeah, we don't have anything too exciting, actually. It's nice to get into the Invisible Stalker and the Storm Tamer. Oh, and Vector Asp is hiding in there as well. But we don't have the... what is it called? The Phyrexian Devourer, unfortunately. Now, they can deal with our Mirror-Mad Phantasm, and we can't mill out our library in response, unfortunately. We don't have enough mana held up. Had we have gone for the Chrome Mox, we could have done, but I wanted to hold on to Damnation. I think I'm actually going to go for Nether Traitor here, because we can deal some damage to Duretti and keep them off. Well, they can -1 next turn if they want to, but it will mean sacrificing their Duretti. And we do get a Bloodghast trigger also, thanks to a land entering the field. And get the Nether Traitor back. That has haste and shadow, so it's effectively unblockable. And we can just yield till the end of the turn here. Yeah, I don't think we have too much going on. Well, the Lazav, the Multifarious, will be 4 mana to get down, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 mana held up. And we will get to Surveil when we replay it. Might have to... we get another land. This is quite ridiculous. We have Fate Stitcher as well. If we had... yeah, if we had Laboratory Maniac in the graveyard, we could try and go for that, but unfortunately, we don't have it. So how much mana is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we don't have enough mana. What I'm thinking of is playing Lazav and then turning it into a... what's it called? Mirror-Mad Phantasm. But we don't have the mana to do that and activate it. So what we could do... right, what we're going to do is do that on our next turn instead. We can turn Lazav into the Invisible Stalker if we want to, in response to anything that our opponent decides to do. We will of course get a Surveil off this as well. Oh, and guess what? We have a land on top. We're definitely going to throw that away. I am sick of the sight of lands in this game. Yeah, so we're just going to have to leave it like that. We can go into Fate Stitcher. Actually, no, we have to exile that, don't we, if we do that, so scratch that. I'm just thinking about setting up the Mirror-Mad Phantasm and Laboratory Maniac combo next turn, but I think we'll just leave it like that. We'll go in at Duretti, and that way if they want to sacrifice an artifact and destroy a creature, then they'll have to kill Duretti in order to do that. They might try and bounce Jace. Actually, what we might want to do, because they have a lot of mana and a lot of artifacts that they can sacrifice, I think I might actually keep... yeah, I'm going to go for the Invisible Stalker now. If they want to try and kill it in response, they'll only be able to do it once, because they only have 2 mana up. So I'm going to do it now. Yep, so it looks like they're going for some mana to try and kill Lazav before we get hexproof on it. Okay, they sacrifice a Thopter and our Grim Monolith. So in response to that, we just go for it again. And we go for Invisible Stalker on the stack. They don't have any mana, so that fizzles. Does mean that we have no mana held up through our next turn. But I don't think we'd be doing anything anyway. I'm actually going to make a risky play here and go for Chrome Mox. Just in case our opponent wants to exile our graveyard, we can go for Siren Storm Tamer. Does mean that we're getting rid of a Damnation, which we might be able to make use of. But yeah, I think I'm happier with that. Siren Storm Tamer is a single mana, which will cost us a generic to turn Lazav into this. And that will make it a 1/1 flyer, but the actual ability we care about is blue and sacrifice it, counter a target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. So if something comes in and it wants to exile our graveyard, it will be targeting us as a player. And that means that we can counter that with the Siren Storm Tamer if we have 2 mana held up. And currently the only thing keeping us in this game is the fact that we have a half-decent graveyard. Opponent has 2 cards in hand. And one of them is a tutor, which is just superb. That's, yeah, it feels bad to lose to a tutor, but we'll see what happens. They have Cyclonic Rift mana, which wouldn't be the worst for us, because we could replay Lazav for 2 and then have a little battle with our opponent if they want to sacrifice artifacts to try and kill Lazav again. I think we'll actually win that fight. Okay, Toxic Deluge is not something we can do anything about, I don't think. No, that's not something we can do a whole lot about. We're just going to have to go in for a hard cast on Lazav again next turn. And we'll get the Nether Traitor out. We can at least deal some damage to the Mind Sculptor next turn. And we can't block the Breya, unfortunately, because shadow creatures can only block other shadow creatures. And out comes another construct. Not servos, I thought they were servos, they're actually construct tokens. Actually, I think the damage will go through at Duretti because we do want to encourage our opponent to kill that if they see something on the board that they don't like. They are down to 7 life and 1 card in hand. It might actually be worth just chipping away at our opponent's life total at this point. And they go for another Planeswalker. So they're probably... Oh, they go for the life gain, so that is... yeah, drain us for 2 life. Guess what we draw into? You'll never guess. Lazav is going to be 6 now, I think. So that will be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 mana we would need in order to turn it into Mirrormad Phantasm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 1 mana off again. Well, 2 mana off actually, not 1 mana. I'm just going to try this because I don't think there's any other means of us getting anything done here. So I'm just clutching at straws at this point. Go for the Gravecrawler. We will go for an island. I think is safe. And then Lazav. We can go into Lazav. We do want to untap that. That will be... and blue and black. And then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, blood can go... that doesn't feel good. Had I not have reanimated the Nether Traitor, we could have actually got a win off there. I was concentrating on keeping these Planeswalkers down. Actually, we couldn't have necessarily done that. We don't have enough life, so that actually doesn't feel as bad as it might have done. Now we have to attempt to get into Invisible Stalker again. So we'll go Invisible Stalker. And we can do this. If our opponent wants to sacrifice artifacts, then yep, they just give us the Invisible Stalker instead of wasting their own resources. Now then, what we want to do is put a stop on our upkeep, because next turn... Actually, no, we can't do it the way I'm thinking. What our aim is here, we have to exile the Fate Stitcher. Our aim is currently to get through to next turn. We get through to next turn and we turn Lazav into Mirrormad Phantasm. Then we mill our entire library with Mirrormad Phantasm's activated ability. Then we reanimate Lab Maniac with the Dread Return, sacrificing these three things. And then we draw into a couple of cards with Deep Analysis. The only problem is that our opponent can give Lab Maniac -4/-4 at instant speed. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do this or not. We might just have to try and mill into another combo. We could actually still do that with the... yeah. We can try and mill out our entire library with the Mirrormad Phantasm, like we just said, but instead of going for a Lab Maniac win, we can reanimate Necropotence, Necrotic Ooze, instead of the Laboratory Maniac, and then go for a Triskelion and Phyrexian Dreadnought win. Or Devourer, whichever one it is, I can't remember. I always get those two mixed up. We're going to get a win. We need to do it quickly because our opponent has refilled their hand. Yeah. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that combo won't work because we won't have any cards left in our library. Ugh, what to do? Let me just have a look and see if we actually have anything here. We could just try and swing in with Lazav and turn Lazav into something big enough to hurt our opponent. That's always something we could go for. I don't think there's anything in our library, unfortunately. In our graveyard, not our library. Yeah, there's nothing we can do with anything here, unfortunately. Okay, our opponent's going to have us discard 2 lands, that's no problem. And going to drain us here, and then we're going to actually have to block with Lazav, unfortunately, because they can deal 3 damage to us. Yeah, so actually, yeah, they can just sacrifice 2 artifacts again and deal the 3 damage to us. So, yeah, pretty sketchy game for us. I think we were just trying to get out something else there. I will see what card we draw into and watch it be another land. Yeah, there you go. I mean, hey, what can we do? If we just keep drawing into lands, yeah, there's not a whole heap of anything we can do with any of this. Yeah, had we have not drawn into lands in the early game, we could have got something going there, but we had a turn 1 or 2 Dark Confident and drawing 2 cards a turn for however many turns it was. I mean, at least half the game. And we were just drawing into lands and not a whole lot else. So I don't think there's anything we could have done there. I was trying to set up the what's it called, Mirror Phantasm and Laboratory Maniac combo, but unfortunately couldn't get it. Breya being able to act at instant speed is really difficult for us. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. Hope that wasn't too painful to watch. It was certainly painful to play. And I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.